Welcome to your Daily Detroit, recorded in the University District on Wednesday, April 3rd, 2019. I'm Sven Gustafson.
And I'm Jared Stays, bringing you an updated edition of the podcast. Let's just jump into it after a quick word from a sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you in part by Milo Digital. Milo Digital is a full-service digital marketing agency that engineers quality results through data and innovative strategies. Learn more at milodetroit.com.
Could we see a return of passenger rail service between Detroit and Toronto? Curb Detroit reports that Amtrak has requested that international service between the two cities be restored for 2020. The request was in its annual report to Congress, and an Amtrak spokesman tells the outlet the rail service sees promise in connecting Chicago, West Michigan, Detroit, and Toronto. There hasn't been passenger rail service between Detroit and Toronto since the late 1960s, before Amtrak was launched. There's no estimate yet on what it would cost, though Amtrak is expected to submit a more detailed funding reauthorization proposal later this year. It could spell out a projected price tag for this new service. Amtrak said it saw around 483,000 riders last year on the Wolverine service, its most popular line in Michigan that connects Chicago and Detroit. Restoring service to Toronto is one of 14 projects for which Amtrak is seeking increased funding. All told, Amtrak says it's seeking $2.4 billion for the 2020 fiscal year. The Trump administration has proposed only $936 million for Amtrak, which is well below its current year funding level. So, Jer, I repeat the lead of this story. Could we see a return of passenger rail service between Detroit and Toronto?
I'll say this, I like trains. I'm completely biased, so expect nothing but my complete and intense bias towards trains here. There was a recent expert who said that train service would work also between Toledo and Detroit, and then also between Ann Arbor and Traverse City. I think these are all great ideas. I think it's a great way to travel. And I'll note here that I've had multiple friends take the train from Windsor to Toronto, and they just love it.
Via Rail Canada, I think it's called. Yeah,
you can just use Wi-Fi. You can just do whatever. I mean, to me, I don't understand why they wouldn't just make this a little connector that just goes to Windsor, and then you pick up the train over there, like pick up their train. I don't see a need to do a second service because that's already there and it works.
Yeah, I occasionally take Amtrak, and I want to support it. I mean, frankly, it's hard sometimes. I mean, if you take an Amtrak to Chicago, it's not much faster. In fact, it can be slower than driving. It's a lot less hassle, granted. I mean, because you don't have to deal with that terrible, terrible traffic in Chicago, which is nice. But it's not going to really save you any time necessarily. And that's, there are reasons, there are concrete reasons for that. Amtrak has to share the same rail with the freight lines and everything.
Well, in other countries, passengers get the priority, but in America, freight gets the priority.
Right. And that's supposedly changing here in Michigan.
I thought there was supposed to be some sort of high-speed rail constructed or something. Well, let's put that in quotes.
Correct. I don't know, I don't have an update on that and when that's all supposed to happen, but that's supposed to be coming down the pike. I mean, the biggest thing is, the U.S. has never invested fully in its, developing a robust Amtrak rail service. If you go to Europe and you ride the Eurail trains, you get a pass there. I mean, you see how good it could be, I mean, with seamless service connecting
Japan,
every city. Sure, I've never been to Japan, but I'm sure it's the same there. And their trains are very fast. I know that. Because it is nice to be able to just kick back and, kick your feet up and not have to worry about driving, no doubt.
I just don't get our hate of trains in this country. I don't get it at all.
Motor City Casino wants to expand its existing parking deck by building an 8-story, 700-space addition. The casino, owned in part by Marion Ilitch, she's the widow of the late Mike Ilitch, filed paperwork with Detroit's Planning Commission, according to Crane's Detroit Business.
Now, I used to live near there, Sven, and I'm not the biggest fan of more parking, but I'm going to go against the gut online reaction around this. I know I've seen some people online who are up in arms about this. I took a moment and I looked at the map, and I'm not going to get my pitchforks out on this one. And
why not?
I'll tell you why. So first off, this isn't an expansion of something on their property. They're building up. And when it comes to urban areas, aren't we always trying to encourage parking to be dense in structures if we have to have it?
Sure, take up less space.
Right. And so they're doing that. They're building 700 new parking spots, but they're building it in an existing garage. Like they're expanding an existing garage. So that makes me a lot more comfortable about it.
Restaurant group Union Joints is opening a new restaurant inside the expanded Little Caesars headquarters. That's the one still under construction with the pizza windows on Woodward, just north of Grand Circus Park. It'll be 14,000 square feet with an interior mezzanine, an alley access pickup window, and a patio that faces Comerica Park. Union Joints says it hopes to open by the end of the year. Union Joints is a restaurant development company, not a restaurant brand name. They have several different properties with different concepts, including Clarkston Union, Union Woodshop, Vinsetta Garage in Berkeley, Grand Castor in Troy, and quite a few others in the state. There's no word yet on what kind of restaurant this will be.
Okay, so this whole thing raises a couple of questions for me. I think first off, I gotta say, it's totally weird. And I toured the building construction, so maybe I missed it, or I feel like I don't. I feel like I've been following the story. But I think it's weird that Little Caesars doesn't seem to be doing a Little Caesars store inside their headquarters expansion. Like, isn't it weird that there isn't a Little Caesars at Little Caesars headquarters?
Maybe the employees are like, no more hot and readies. Give us variety.
Well, and back to Union Joints. Sven, whatever happened to that project? It was going to be in the old WWJ transmitter building, 8MK or whatever?
That's right, on 8 Mile in Oak Park. And it's been a long time, I think 2 or 3 years ago at this point that they first announced it. I've been asking around trying to find out what's going on because there's been no, I go by that building all the time. There's been no signs that there's been any work done there whatsoever. Late breaking, just got an email response from Oak Park City Manager Eric Tungate, who tells me we are still in discussion with the development team. Things aren't progressing nearly as quickly as we would like, but we have been assured they are still moving ahead on the project. Some of the delays, he says, were caused by some environmental issues that weren't previously known about. So that's good news. I mean, because I've been, asking Union Joints themselves for an update and had been kind of not heard anything from them.
A lot of people are excited about this one.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a really cool old building. I think
Art Deco, right?
I believe so. Yeah, the interior, especially. There's a couple of websites, kind of radio history websites that have some photos of the interior that look really incredible. But I think this would be, assuming it comes to fruition, would be a really important kind of development milestone for 8 Mile Boulevard in particular, because, what 8 Mile's like. It's got the reputation well earned for, kind of low rent motels, used car lots, dispensaries nowadays, adult entertainment establishments.
That's true, but this will make a destination.
Absolutely. And so that's good news, and good to hear that apparently that's still moving forward.
Hey, Sven, remember when we did that story about Dickie's out in Sterling Heights and we had no idea why it did well on our site?
Yeah, the barbecue chain. I do remember that. I don't get it, but hey, I guess it's what people care about, huh?
And we also covered the closing of Blackfin and Royal Oak, one of our most popular posts of 2018.
I miss it so much.
Well, here's another one of those. Out in the almighty suburbs, the city of Sterling Heights has shared renderings of 2 developments that have preliminary approval. First up, a Culver's is going into the outlot by the Meyer on Van Dyke. That's up by Metro Parkway, or for those of us keeping score at home, 16 Mile Road. Second, LA Fitness is opening up one of their signature clubs, also on Van Dyke, but this one is just north of Metro Parkway. Apparently, a signature club has nicer amenities than a regular one.
So they say, yeah, I'm an LA Fitness member and I go to a signature club. So, hey, I'm fancy.
Both of the drawings look like every other Culver's or LA Fitness you've ever seen before. But if you're curious, we'll link to them on dailydetroit.com.
Daily Detroit is brought to you in part by the Rattlesnake Club, now offering happy hour from 4 to 7 p.m. Tuesday through Friday. Enjoy bites including perch, po' boy sliders, flatbread pizza, and baked Virginia oysters, plus daily drink specials.
The Rattlesnake, locally grown, seasonally sourced, and classically inspired since 1988. Go see Chef Jeff and make your reservation at rattlesnakedetroit.com.
If there's anything that Detroiters near and far seem to love, it's the Coney dog. But what happens when you merge it with another beloved Michigan food, the pasty? Ackroyd's Scottish Bakery over on 5 Mile Road in Redford Township, they did just that. Let's find out by going to the tape. Spirits advisor Nuri Gojai joins Cheyenne Noserini and Jer to bite into these delicacies.
All right, so we've got 4 of these suckers, guys.
And are they all the same?
They're all the same. They're all apparently the Coney pasty.
Oh, man. So we got the mustard here, right? That's part of our gig. And there's no mustard inside.
Right. And they got some heft. Listen.
Up next on Heft Watch.
All right, so they say to dip with the mustard. So you got that going.
You got some of the best mustard ever made, Plockman's. It's like pie crust dough almost. Like a really good old-fashioned, like your grandma makes pie crust.
Okay.
So flaky. I tore it apart, and it looks like a Coney inside. You see chopped hot dogs, Coney sauce, and cheese. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and bite into it here. That's amazing. It's like a Coney without a hot dog bun. Oh, God. I'm in love.
The crust is very good. It's not your usual UP pasty crust.
And your pre belief in this, or your pre knowledge of this, comes from the fact that you are married to a Youper.
I am married to a Youper, so therefore I eat a lot of pasties. It's very good, and I will say it's a lot easier to eat than a normal Coney.
I'm not like covered in Coney all over my face. There's none on the table either, right? Just a couple of few crumb flakes from the crust.
Right, because I do eat my Coneys with a fork, which I know is sacrilegious. I understand, but I am not a messy eater, and I don't like a lot of mess. So this makes it a lot easier. It's a Coney in a pouch.
All right, Jerry, I think it's your turn, buddy.
All right, time for you got to do the dip, the mustard dip. This is good. It is the type of thing. I kind of like that it's not the standard pasty dough, because the standard pasty dough is more designed. I mean, the whole idea of the pasty was like the portable sandwich you can take with you out on the road. It doesn't need to have that much durability. And so the softness reminds me a bit of a bun.
I think this is like the blending of 2 of Michigan's favorite foods in one. Yeah, it's a Coney and a pasty. Like what could go wrong? Like this is I'm in love. I'm a fan. I'd eat it again. I'm going to keep eating it now.
And of course, we'll have photos up on dailydetroit.com.
Follow the bouncing ball in the Ghoul Power Land. Once again, it is time for your high priest of hilarious hijinks, your lieutenant of lunacy, your captain of comedy, your midnight maniac. Oh, I got a million of them, gang.
Before we let you go, I wanted to let you know that a Detroit area cult icon from the 70s and 80s has died. Ron Sweed, who played the late-night Detroit TV horror host The Ghoul, died on April 1st, according to a post on Facebook by his first wife. The Ghoul was the kind of TV character that probably couldn't exist today. Dressed in a blonde wig, paste-on goatee, and mustache and eyeglasses with one of the lenses blacked out, The Ghoul often staged absurd skits and blew up things with M80s. He'd also take a terrible horror movie clip and dump in sound bites from novelty records, comedians, and rock albums. According to a now-gone GeoCities tribute, and let's pour one out for GeoCities, quote, "The show was destructive and childish enough for little kids, subversive and timely enough for young adults." Sweed was originally from Cleveland, where his show originated, but Detroiters loved him, and this is one of his best markets. He had performed at the Redford Theater and was scheduled to return.
I remember him more than I can say I was like a devoted fan who followed his show, but watching some of the clips of him on YouTube, Jer, makes me pine for the days when, television was much more of like a community asset, with true local programming, with all of its rich eccentricity and weirdness and everything. Nowadays everything's all about money, and Channel 50 and TV 20 and those channels that he plied his trade on, they would never air this kind of grassroots, frankly kind of amateur slapdash material on the air.
Nowadays he probably would have had a podcast.
That's true. And with that, I'm Sven Gustafson. Thanks so much for listening. Remember, you can be part of our show by becoming a Patreon member. Join us at dailydetroit.com/join.
And I'm Jer Stays. Take care of each other, and we'll see you around Detroit.
You're listening to the Podcast Detroit Network. Visit www.podcastdetroit.com for more information.